Hey everyone, Sean Watasa here, back with another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Thirdweb's brand new Unified SDK. An overview of what we're going to go over in this video, we'll take a look at the new Unified SDK, some of the new features it offers, and how it compares to our old version of the SDK. We'll then take a look at getting started with the brand new Unity SDK, and we'll go through a few steps on how you can implement the new Unified SDK into your Web3 projects. So with all of that being said, let's jump on the computer here. Let's take a look at our brand new Unified SDK. We'll link down in the description below a link to the documentations as well. So if you want to take a look at the documentations, we're not going to go through everything, but we will go through some of the important parts. You can check those out down in the description below. So right here on my computer, we are on the Unified SDK. You can see right now, as of recording this video, it is in beta, but we can come down here. We can look really quick at a library comparison. We have a comparison chart here going over thirdweb, WAGMI, viem, and Ethers 6. And you can see here a quick comparison across all the different libraries. Things from type safe contract APIs to IPFS upload and download, embedded wallets, account abstraction. You also have things like React hooks and React Native, which is something that we offer with our SDK. Now, some of the things that I want to mention on the brand new Unified SDK is the idea of a single package. We've started developing the ThirdwebProvider SDK a few years ago, and since then we've added a few new features, including things like smart wallets, compatibility with any EVM, SDKs for things like React, React Native, and a bunch of other tools as well. And all those additional packages made the SDK more complex and a little bit more challenging. But with this new SDK, we've combined all the functionality into one single package, allowing it to be much easier to install, discover, and use. So instead of having to install different packages like the TypeScript SDK, and maybe you needed the React SDK, and maybe you needed the Wallet SDK, all of those had separate packages. Now all you need to do is install ThirdWeb. You can see right over here, installation. You just need to run npm install thirdweb, and we've made this SDK as lightweight as possible. We reduced the number of direct dependencies. And as far as performance goes, the new Unified SDK is roughly 10 times faster and 30 times lighter than the previous versions of our SDK, and is in line or faster than other popular SDKs in the space. We'll link a blog post down in the description below where we show benchmarks comparing our old version of our SDK to our new version of the Unified SDK. We can also look at some of the benchmarks comparing our old SDK to our new Unified SDK. This is from a blog post we posted about the new Unified SDK. We'll link this down in the description below if you want to check that out. We have things comparing like the recontract state, the encode contract call, and sending native currency. Now that's just a little bit about the Unified SDK and why we're so excited for developers to get their hands on this new SDK. Now, what we're going to go through next is just a quick getting started section where we'll create a new project, we'll install the new ThirdWeb Unified SDK, and we'll go through some of the basic functionality and features of it. So I'm actually going to turn here back to our docs, and what I'm going to do is create a new project. So I'm going to open up my terminal here, and I'm going to create a new Next project. So I'm just going to run npx create Next app, and I'm going to name this project a Unified SDK, and we'll just update here. Yes, we will be using TypeScript for this example. I'm going to say no to ESLint, no to Tailwind, yes to source directory, and yes to app router, and no to customizing the default import. So once we create our project here, we will change into our Unified SDK here, and we'll open this up in our code editor. Now I'm going to head back to my terminal here, and I'm going to just clear this. So in my Unified SDK project folder here, I'm going to install the new ThirdWeb Unified SDK. Now this is the same command here in our docs. As of recording this video, we are still in the beta version, so we're going to add the beta tag here at the end. So coming back to my terminal, all we're going to run is npm install thirdweb at beta. There we go. Now that that's installed, we'll come back to our code editor here, and we're going to start implementing the ThirdWeb SDK into our project here. Coming back to the docs here, let's look at the getting started. And there's a few things and sections we're going to go through. First is going to be our client, and the client is our entry point to our SDK. So this is where we're going to have to provide our client ID or our secret key. Depending if we're creating something client side or server side, Client side, we're going to use our client ID. Server side, we're going to have to provide our secret key. Now this is going to be through our ThirdWeb API keys. And if you want to learn a little bit more about ThirdWeb API keys, we'll link down in the description below a link to a tutorial video and documentation for you to learn more about it. But really quick, I'm going to come to my ThirdWeb dashboard here. I'm going to connect my wallet, sign in, and I'm going to come to the settings tab. And under the settings tab, I'll have my API keys here. You can create a new API key. I already have one here, and I'm just going to copy that right there. Now we come back to our documentation here. You can see that we just need to use the create ThirdWeb client here. So I'm going to come back to my code editor in my source folder. I'm actually going to, and in the app folder here, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm just going to name this client.ts. And in this client.ts, we're going to create our client ID, which our client ID, we're going to store this as an environment variable in a .env file. So we're just going to do process .client ID. We'll do a next public client ID here. And what we'll do here is then export our client. Our client is going to be, again, something that we're going to provide throughout our application. So we're going to put that into our client file here. We're going to use the create ThirdWeb client, and we just need to provide it the client ID, which will be our client ID variable right over here. Now let's import the create ThirdWeb client here. And we're going to import this from ThirdWeb. Now above us exporting our client, we'll check to see that if there is no client ID, we'll throw an error saying no client ID was provided. So next, we're going to create environment variable here for our client ID. So let's come here. I'm going to just create a new file, create a .env file for our public client ID here. And then I'm going to paste in my client ID and save that. So right there, I have my client set up, and now I can use this throughout my application. Now, the next thing we need to do is actually wrap our application to be able to use Thirdwebs SDK. So coming back to my file directory here, I'm going to first create a new file in my app folder. We're going to call this thirdweb.ts. And let's take a look back at our documentations here. So the one thing we're going to have to do next is in our React is we're going to have to use the ThirdwebProvider. So we look at the overview of our React SDK. You can see we have a few different things from setting up our ThirdwebProvider to connecting wallets to UI components and hooks. Now, if we take a look at ThirdwebProvider, the ThirdwebProvider is a component that is going to wrap our application here, and that's going to give us access to the ThirdWeb components and hooks. This includes things like our connect button that we're going to go over in just a bit. So you can see here, all we need to do is wrap our app with the ThirdwebProvider and provide it our client. So coming to here, I'm going to first create a thirdweb.ts file. So in here, in thirdweb.ts, I'm just going to paste this in. You can see here that what we're doing here is we don't want to import the components and hooks directly from the ThirdWeb package into server components. And instead, we want to export them in from this file here and then import them into server components. That way they are tagged with the use client here. So I'm just going to export ThirdwebProvider here. And I'm going to come to my layout.tsx page. And right over here in my body, I am going to, inside the body here, but around the children, I'm going to add my ThirdwebProvider. So we'll wrap the children here with the ThirdwebProvider. And ThirdwebProvider here, we first need to also import that. So that is importing from not ThirdWeb React. We want to import this from our ThirdWeb file that we created. And I also need to provide the ThirdwebProvider with our client. So our client is going to be our client that we stored in our client.ts file. And we'll just make sure that this is the same here. There we go. So now our application and our children within our app here are wrapped with the ThirdwebProvider. So that should set up our application to be able to use Thirdwebs SDK. Now, if we take a look at the pages here, pages.tsx file, we have some boilerplate code here from creating a new Next project. I'm going to delete everything within this styles main here. So let's delete all of this. So the main tag with the styles main, I'm just going to leave that. I will also delete the image import here. We're not going to use that. And we'll just say here my Web3 app. We'll add a title. I'm just going to open up my terminal here and run yarn dev to run this here. And there you go. You can see it says Web3 app here. Now what we'll do next is take a look at our docs here again. And if we take a look back at the overview, we're going to look at chains next. So in the ThirdWeb Unified SDK, this is the same like our older version of SDK. It works with any EVM chain. All you need to do is connect to the chain ID. So there's a few different ways we can go about doing this. We can use the define chain and just provide the chain ID number, and that will give us the RPC connection to that chain. Or the SDK comes with some predefined popular chains like Base, Polygon, Ethereum, and we can just provide it with the name. Or if we wanted to, we could also configure our own RPC endpoints. If you don't want to use ThirdWeb's RPC endpoints, you can configure your own chain with the chain ID, the RPCs that you want to connect to, the native currency, the block explorers you want to use, and all of that other information. So we'll run through an example here. In our code editor here, we're going to come back. I'm going to add a new file into app here, and we're going to call this chains.ts. And in here, we can add a few different ways of creating our chain. So we can say export here. We'll export our chain by name. So again, if we wanted to say Mumbai or Ethereum or whatever other popular chain, we can import here Mumbai from thirdweb/chains. So again, this here is going to get our chain by name. Again, you can use popular ones like Mumbai, you can do Ethereum, you can do something like Base, and then you just need to put that into here. We can also export another variable. We'll do a chain by ID, and this is going to use the define chain here. And all we need to do is provide it with the chain ID. So in Mumbai's case here, we'll put 80,001, which is Mumbai's chain ID, and that will give us access to the same chain. And again, looking back at our docs here, this is going to create an RPC connection utilizing ThirdWeb's RPCs using that chain ID. Now, again, you can configure your own chain and you can provide your own RPC endpoints and all your own information for that chain down there as well. Now that we have our chain defined, we can now connect to that chain. So coming to our pages here, we're going to add a connect button. So we're going to add a connect button here. And this connect button here is the same as the connect wallet button that we had in our older version of our SDK. And in here, you're going to be provided a connect button, which will allow a user to connect a wallet to your application. This includes wallets like MetaMask, Coinbase Wallet, Wallet Connect wallets. We can even use smart wallets or account abstraction wallets or embedded wallets from ThirdWeb. Embedded wallets will allow you to sign in with social logins or email. And all we need to do for the connect button here is we can add and provide a chain. And this is going to be the chain that we want our default. And this will be the default chain that we want our application to connect to. So we can get our chain by ID. We can import that from chains. And if we take a look back at our application here, you can see we are getting a server error. So let's actually get a connect button here. And this is why we'll come back here to our thirdweb.ts, add a connect button here. And then back in our page, we are going to import this from ThirdWeb here. There we go. And if we come back, let's disconnect. You can see here, we now have a connect wallet button. If we click on that, we can now sign in utilizing our different wallets here. So let's connect with the MetaMask here. And there you go. You can see we are connected. And if I were to actually, let's switch chains here. So I'm on Mumbai, the chain that we chose. If I'm on Ethereum here, you can see that we get the switch network here. And if I hit switch network, it's going to have me switch over to Mumbai, which is our chain that we specified in our chain.ts file. So I can say switch. You can see it switches to Mumbai here, right over here. If I come back here and I go to chains and let's say we do chain ID 1, which is Ethereum mainnet, we see switch network again. If we switch, it's going to have me switch to the Ethereum mainnet. So that is how we can define our chains and everything. You can use your chain ID, or you can use the name of the chain right over here, or configure your own. So we'll switch back to Mumbai here. So we got the basics of our Web3 application here. We can connect to a wallet. We can connect a wallet. We can connect a wallet to our application. We can define the chain that we want to connect to. Let's now start interacting with some data on chain. So since we have a wallet connected, let's check the status of our wallet. So we can check if a wallet is connected to our application or not. We're going to, over here, use a React hook called useActiveWalletConnection. So we'll import that from ThirdWeb React. This is going to give us back the status of the connection of our wallet. So if it's disconnected, if it's connected, we'll be able to get that right over here. So I'm going to just display that in our app here. So we'll say connection, and we'll provide the status and give it the status of our connection here. So if I come back to my app, you can see, okay, we're using client. So we just need to provide use client in our page here really quick. There we go. You can see connection. Let's get rid of this styling here. We don't need this style. There we go. We can see our connection status right now is connected. If I disconnect, we can see our connection status is disconnected. So we can use that to see whether we have a wallet connected to our application or not. Connect back with a MetaMask. There we go. We have connected. So we're, again, able to see whether or not a wallet is connected to our Web3 app. Now, if we do have a wallet connected, let's get some information from our wallet. Normally, when we build Web3 apps, we might need things like our wallet address. So coming back to my code editor here, we can use another hook from ThirdWeb here called a useActiveAccount. And this active account will return us back what we're going to call an account. Now, there's some information here that we can use from this. I'm going to get rid of this stylus here. So we can, just like how we use the use address in our older version of the SDK, in this one, we can say, hey, once we get an account, let's display some of the information of that account. So what we'll display here is the account data. We'll display the address. So account is going to give us back an account object here. And within that, we can get the address. So if we come back to our application here, you can see I have account data, and our wallet address is right over here, ending in B8B2, which is the same wallet that I have right over here. Now, account is going to just give me the wallet address, but we can also get data on top of the wallet that is connected. So using the use active wallet, we can get back information about the wallet, and we can get information like the address. So within the wallet, we can get the account of the wallet, and we can get, which will get us the account here, and we can get the address from that. Or we have the wallet type, so we can look at the wallet's metadata and we can get the name of the wallet. In this case, I'm connected with a MetaMask wallet, so in return, it'll say that the wallet type is MetaMask. I can also get the chain that we are connected to. So right over here, I can get chain ID and get the ID back, and it will provide me with the chain ID, which should be Mumbai's chain ID. So if I come back to our application here, you can see the connected wallet. I can still get the address here by using the get account on top of the wallet. I can get the wallet type like MetaMask, and I can also get the chain ID that our wallet is connected to. So we've interacted with our wallet that we've connected to our application. We're able to just get the account data, which is our wallet address, or we can get a little bit more detail and get our data of the actual wallet that's connected, which also includes the account as well. Now let's look into how we can start interacting with contracts. So if we take a look back at our Unified SDK here, we went over clients, we went over chains. Next, let's go over contract here. So contract, you can see that a contract is a wrapper around a smart contract that is deployed. And this contract we'll be able to use within our transaction. So if we need to read data from our contract, if we need to write data to our contract, we can use this contract here. All we need to do is use get contract, and that is going to, and we'll provide it with our client, the contract address, and the chain that it's on, and we'll be able to use that throughout our application. So coming back to our code editor here, I can come back into my file directory, add a new file here called contracts.ts into my app folder. And what we'll do here is we'll export a contract. So we'll just say contract, and we're going to use get contract here. And a get contract, we need to provide it with a few things. The first is our client, and we're going to get our client from our client file. Next, we need to provide it the address. This is going to be the contract address. Now, I have a token contract address that I'm going to use here that we're going to use for an example, but you can use any smart contract. And then we're going to specify the chain that it is deployed on. And in this case, I'm going to use chain by ID since this is deployed to the same chain. So right there, I now have my token contract that I can use throughout my application. So in my pages here, what I want to do is fetch the balance of the connected wallet and see how much of that token that it holds. So what we're going to do here is create a state variable here called token balance. We're going to use state here, import that. Default is going to be a 0 here. And then I'm going to create a use effect here to update my token balance once I have a account connected and once I have my account connected. So once I have an account that I can check the balance for, then I will check the balance for it. And what we're going to do here is I am going to create a function that says fetch token balance. It's going to be an async function. So I can get the balance here. And what we're going to do is await, and we're going to read contract here. So we can use the read contract, and we can specify what contract we want to read. So contract, I'm going to say my contract from my contract files. The method that we're going to read, which we're going to pass it a function of balance of, which is going to take our address. It's going to give us a return here of a uint 256. And then we need to provide it the params here, which is going to be our account address. And then we're going to say as a string. And what we're using is the contract read here. So if we take a look back at our documentations, if we look at transactions here, we can read contract state here by using read contract. We can provide it the contract that we want to read. We have to provide it the method here. So we define the function that we want to call, the read function that we want to call from our contract. In this instance, we're reading the balance of, which requires an address, and it returns it's a view function that returns a uint 256 to us. Now the parameters here that we need to provide is the address that we want to read the balance of. And if we look here, in our case, it is going to be our account.address, which is the wallet address of the connected wallet. After we get the balance, we're going to set the token balance to our balance here. And our balance here, because we're getting a big int returned and we need a number, we can say 2 ether, and then we can get our balance here. And this is going to turn it to a string. So we'll just say this here by default is a string. And then we'll say if there is an account. So once we get an account, and if there is an account, we'll run fetch token balance to get our token balance. Then down here, we can display our token balance. We'll say token balance, and we'll just display our token balance right over here. So now coming back to our application here, we're disconnected. Let's connect a wallet here. And you can see right here, our token balance updates to 20. And this is just reading our token balance of this wallet for the token contract that we specified. And there you have it. That was a quick introduction to ThirdWeb's brand new Unified SDK. Again, as I'm making this video, the SDK is still in beta, but feel free to try it out and let us know what you think. But we're going to be working on a bunch of other videos and tutorials going over how to start actually building full applications using the new Unified SDK. So if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on those tutorial videos as they come out. And again, we'll have some links down in the description below where you can check out more information about the Unified SDK, which we are constantly updating. I hope you folks enjoyed this video and you found some value in it, and I can't wait to see what Web3 applications you have to build. But until next time, see ya.